Hello, my friends. Tonight, violent protests erupt at UC Berkeley over a speech by Breitbart editor Milo Yiannopoulos, prompting Donald Trump to threaten no more federal funds for the university. And also, a town in Connecticut holds a white privilege essay contest for teenagers, which among other things asks them how big of a role privilege has played in their lives. I'm Jason Bealey, and this is Really TV.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We will preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we will sentence them to take the first step into 1,000 years of darkness. If we fail, at least let our children and our children's children say of us, we justified our brief moment here. We did all that could be done.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to Really TV. You know, there is a fundamental difference between conservatives and liberals, not only as it relates to political philosophy, the way we think, our outlooks on life, but also how each side responds when they are not in power. For 8 years under Barack Obama, obviously conservatives were not in power. We didn't have the White House. For a portion of the time, we didn't have any real representation in Congress. And this sparked the Tea Party movement. You remember that? The Tea Party movement really rose up in 2009, 2010 as a result of big government. Conservatives got together and said, the government is too powerful. It is becoming too centralized. We need to do something about this. And so we rose up by the millions. We marched peacefully in the streets. We had our signs. That was the Tea Party movement. That is how conservatives respond when they're not in power. We don't go out there and start smashing windows and flipping cars and setting things on fire. That is the left. That's how they respond when they're not in power. They freak out. They don't know how to handle it because all they know is power. All they know is control. It makes them very, very uncomfortable. You look at what happened last night at UC Berkeley on that campus that is now in complete ruins because of these student protesters, really rioters. I wanted to watch part of this video from Fox News. Tucker Carlson was reporting on this. We won't play the whole thing, but this is just to give you an idea of what went on. Take a look.
I want to take you to Fox News Alert now. UC Berkeley is in turmoil tonight, real turmoil, as rioters set fires and forced the cancellation of a speech by writer Milo Yiannopoulos. Fox's Trace Gallagher has more on what's going on there tonight. Trace?
And if you look at these pictures, Tucker, you can see, these guys are burning flags. They are busting windows. Right now, the entire campus at UC Berkeley is on lockdown. The police are trying to disperse the crowd, but so far, they're not going anywhere. You can see the fire right there. The teachers or the administrators are up on top of the building trying to spray fire extinguishers down. This was all over a speech by Milo Yiannopoulos. As you said earlier, he, of course, is a Breitbart writer, and the push tonight was to start this push so that campuses like UC Berkeley that are considered sanctuary campuses, which means they harbor illegal immigrants. They will not work with the federal government when it comes to illegal immigrants. They were trying to start this push to get federal dollars taken away from these UC campuses. Anybody who does not know, Janet Napolitano, who is the former head of Department of Homeland Security, former Arizona governor, she is now the president of the UC system. And right after Donald Trump was elected, she made this push to start this sanctuary campus policy that they would not comply with the feds. And what the Republicans on campus and what this speech was about tonight was to try and get this campus and other UC campuses, get federal dollars taken away from them if they are not going to abide by federal law. This speech was supposed to start tonight at around 6 o'clock. Well, they canceled it at 5 o'clock. The riots really began around that same time, and now you can see the crowd, it seems to be dispersing. Half the signs are anti-Milo signs, the other half are anti-Trump signs, so there's clearly a bigger issue going on here. The young Republicans on campus who are putting this thing on were told they could have the speaker, but they would have to pay the cost of the extra security, and they said fine. But of course, the protests, as you can see, have been ongoing now for a couple of hours, and police are having a difficult time trying to disperse this crowd. But the entire campus remains on lockdown tonight.
All right, stop.
Except for these people.
You get the idea. You get the idea. Just terrible. I was going through. They had a bunch of different pictures up of the riots on Breitbart's website, and one of the pictures showed a bunch of these students holding a big sign that said, "This is war. This is war." Obviously, you saw the video. They're running around. They're lighting stuff on fire. The Democrats. It's amazing to me how they try to dress themselves up as peaceful, as loving, as accepting towards everyone, and yet they're not. They're not. Now, I want to address this on a couple of different levels. First of all, these people are really my age, aren't they? I mean, I'm 22, almost 23 years old. We're right around the same age. So let me address these idiots first, who are setting things on fire and causing nothing but destruction. Let me address them. Do you think anyone is taking you seriously? Do you think anyone is really taking you seriously? What do you think this kind of stuff does to your credibility? If you have a problem with Milo and his political views, that's fine. That's fine. You have the freedom of speech. You can voice those concerns. Do it all you want. Do it all you want. Hell, I'm not even the biggest fan of this Milo guy. I'm really not. But going out there, setting things on fire, being nothing but rabble-rousers, smashing things, spray painting things. I mean, you look like a bunch of hoodlums. And I want you to know that that's how the rest of the country sees you. You see yourselves as freedom fighters. You see yourselves as rebels, as the resistance, as fighting for the side of good. I'm telling you, that is not how the rest of the country sees you. You look like a bunch of punks and nothing more. Cut the crap. Cut the crap. You're making it very, very obvious that you do not stand for the freedom of speech. You simply do not stand for the freedom of speech. By this point, you should just come forward and admit it. Admit it. We, the students at UC Berkeley, the liberals here, do not stand for freedom of speech. Furthermore, other leftists in this country, young liberals, who are not part of these protests, will you condemn this? Will you condemn this? Will you rise up and say this is wrong? Will you rise up and say Milo had a right to speak? Will you do it? Probably not many of you, let's be honest. Because as we all know, again, the liberals don't stand for the freedom of speech. They stand for their speech. They stand for the speech that they give the okay for. That is, if it's coming from a liberal perspective, if it's coming from the left wing, if it's that kind of speech, then it's perfectly fine. But the second someone challenges them, challenges their little safe spaces and their sanctuary campuses, then they freak out. And this is how they respond. This is how they respond. Now, Donald Trump has threatened to cut federal funds. Last night, he tweeted, it was actually early this morning. He tweeted, "If UC Berkeley does not allow free speech and practices violence on innocent people with a different point of view, no federal funds? I say, go for it. Cut them off." We need a movement in this country. We need a movement. And you know, I think there's room, in my opinion, for the current administration to get involved in some capacity. I think we need a movement that reintroduces and puts a a newfound emphasis on free speech on college campuses. Because, again, as it stands right now, there is no such thing as free speech on college campuses. There's really not. And I've gone over this before. Most colleges take action to silence conservatives. And if that doesn't happen, then the students step in and have a temper tantrum like a bunch of 5-year-olds whenever their views are challenged. I say Donald Trump, go for it. And I'll build on that. Don't limit it to UC Berkeley. When this happens in the future on other campuses where students, are lighting things on fire and are preventing the other side from speaking, that is us, the conservatives, threaten federal funding. Threaten federal funding. There's nothing wrong with trying to create an education system. There's nothing wrong with trying to create a campus environment that fosters free speech. That should be something encouraged. And one way to encourage that and ensure that is to threaten federal funding if that's not the kind of environment that's created. Now, I also want to take a minute to look at it from this perspective. How did these young people get this way? These young people who are out there, again, lighting things on fire, flipping cars, doing whatever they want, like a bunch of hoodlums, how do they get this way? Well, obviously, they're doing this in response to Milo's speech. They don't like what he has to say. Obviously, they disagree with him. They think, what Milo has to say is hate speech and all the rest. I understand that. But there's a deeper problem here, ladies and gentlemen. There's a deeper problem here. These students feel as though they are entitled to living a life without any opposition whatsoever. This is why I have such a big problem with safe spaces, because it makes young people believe that they can just go through life without having their views challenged. Their views aren't challenged. And this is what happens. They get so used to having it be their way and only their way that when finally someone from the other side of the political spectrum comes along and speaks up, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle it because they haven't been taught how to handle it. Young people today are losing the ability to look at both sides and digest arguments from one side and the other side. They don't have that skill set anymore. And that's a really sad thing, and in part, I blame that on the professors who are indoctrinating their students, brainwashing their students, teaching them one side of the political spectrum and only one side. I partially blame them. So this is just absolutely disgusting to me. God bless the police who had to deal with this all night long, putting out fires, trying to break up the crowds. It's incredible. It really, really is incredible, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I agree with Donald Trump. Cut off funding and encourage free speech. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I saw this article up on the Washington Free Beacon, which, by the way, is a fantastic website. Town holds white privilege essay contest for teens. Now, really, one of the main reasons why I wanted to read this to you and talk about it a little bit is because it comes from my home state of Connecticut. A small town in Connecticut is holding an essay contest for teens on white privilege, with winners receiving up to $1,000. The contest is sparking outrage, according to the Associated Press, as residents of Westport, Connecticut, are questioning why the town's Diversity Council chose the topic. In a press release announcing the contest, the town government said the competition for teenagers in the mostly white town will foster understanding on white privilege, claiming it was a topic in the presidential election. Was it really? Or did the left make it a topic? As the nation faces historic social shifts relating to race and identity, young people will find themselves at the crossroads of a different America, the government said. This is the government, by the way. This is why it's kind of unusual. Usually you hear this sort of thing going on college campuses. This is coming from the town government. In order to increase awareness, foster understanding, and promote understanding in this arena, Team Westport and the Westport Library are co-sponsoring the 4th annual Teen Diversity Essay Contests for students in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade who attend Staples High School or another school in Westport, or reside in Westport and attend school elsewhere. Team Westport stands for Together Effectively Achieving Multiculturalism. And the article goes on. You can read the rest for yourself. Here's really all I want to say on this. Is something that I've said before. Again, together effectively achieving multiculturalism. Why do we need the government, and also I'll throw this in there as well, why do we need school administrations telling us how to be diverse and how to practice multiculturalism? I think that if Americans were just left the hell alone, if young people were just left the hell alone, I mean, we know how to be diverse. We know how to be, practice multiculturalism. We know how to be tolerant. We don't need anyone telling us or teaching us how to do it or encouraging it. I'll tell you a quick anecdote. When I was in my sophomore year of high school, I was in the marching band, and I made friends with a freshman. His name is Jalen. He's a black guy. Okay, and me and him immediately hit it off. We're great friends, and we're great friends to this day. And I didn't become friends with him or start talking to him because some government or some school administration was telling me how to be diverse, was telling me how to be, practice multiculturalism, to be aware of diversity and all the rest. I became friends with him because he was a good guy. And that's my point, is that if we're just left alone, we know how to be friends with everybody and be diverse. This isn't something that we need help with. The idea that we need help with it is insane. And it's also pretty stupid, I might add, that this essay contest, write about white privilege. Here you go, $1,000. I did an episode on white privilege earlier this week, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, it was last week. Debunking the myths, and I encourage you to watch it. Unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very, very much for watching new episodes of Veely TV every single weeknight at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Check us out online, youthrevolt.org/VeelyTV, youthrevolt.org/VeelyTV. Also, check out my radio show, which airs 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, live every weeknight as well. Thanks again, folks. I'll see you tomorrow. God bless.